These are my final minutes. This is what happens. All these stories of these documentaries were flashing in my head of all these women who had got strangled to death, whether it was for whether it was a serial killer or whatever. In my mind, I'm thinking, so this is what it feels like to be strangled to death.
And I'm glad that, I have three females on the panel tonight because I definitely want to talk about this. Now, this is a broad subject, domestic violence, but it's 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 very there's a lot of different ways to talk about it. So I have a few different ways I just want to kind of touch on this subject and kind of get into it. So domestic violence, it's nothing new,
Right.
right? So and it also goes both ways. There's males who abuse females, and there's females who abuse males.
Absolutely.
On both
Yep.
sides of the coin. So I kind of wanted to dig into kind of today, like what is it that makes people want to cross that line? Because a lot of times domestic violence don't start off like that. It don't start off with physical violence right away.
Mhm.
you know and I think that there are many things that sometimes there's warning signs, sometimes there's no warning
Mm-hmm.
signs. know,
Mm.
but there typically are some basic bullet points that do stand out when you go back and look at it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit and kind of get into that. Um so some of the warning signs are obviously it usually start with some type of verbal abuse,
Absolutely.
right? Verbal abuse is there.
Emotional abuse.
You said emotional abuse.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely,
Mhm.
definitely emotional, verbal. And then you have things like jealousy are part of it. A lot of
Mhm.
times, jealousy is a big thing.
Yep.
Um, and then you have, like, I wouldn't say societal pressures per se, but there are sometimes people can be influenced by others. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Who they've seen, like some men who've seen their dads or uncles
Oh my
abuse
God.
Mm-hmm.
women.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sometimes can do that too. So,
Yep.
um, so what I want to do is I want to kind of get into it. We can kind of get into it generally, and then we can get into it personally if y'all want. Um, as far as the experience of things that you've seen or felt as far as domestic violence.
Mhm.
So I'll let anyone want to kick it off.
Well, um, taking from my own personal experience, it definitely started for me with the verbal abuse, which was a surprise because at times I think that a person can only hold back certain things for so long, certain parts of their character, certain things that they're used to that they may not be proud of, and maybe they tell themselves, "Well, I'm not going to act like that this time with this person."
Mhm.
But as soon as they're triggered, as soon as those same triggers come out, then they start to behave a certain way because he never behaved that way at first. He was always very mild mannered, very soft spoken, kind of timid at times. And so when he got angry and suddenly things went from 0 to 100, and now the verbal disrespect happens, you're shocked because you didn't think they had it in them to do that. And you really don't even think. And then they apologize because nothing physical has happened, and you still take that out of your mind as, oh, that would never happen. They would never do that. And so you don't see that the verbal abuse is a warning sign, and that's something, a red flag that a lot of people miss. Because if a person starts to feel comfortable disrespecting you, then it's not a stretch that they're going to take it to the next level. The more angry they get, and that comes from a person having all this uncontrolled anger and a certain level of immaturity, a certain level of a lack of impulse control. Whatever they're mad about, you forgive them for disrespecting you. Okay, so you write it off as stress or whatever the situation is. Happens again. You still don't think they're ever going to put their hands on you, but you think, okay, however the relationship has progressed, either you're in love or you think you're in love, and they apologize, and you don't want to end the relationship over some bad words,
Right.
so you keep going, and then it starts to escalate. And as the deeper in the relationship you get, now they've gotten away with talking to you crazy and disrespecting you, calling you out of your name. It's not usually going to be something minor. They're going to be cussing you out, calling you all kind of bees, saying all kind of just really hateful things to you. That you're so hurt and so surprised by their behavior, you don't even, because they didn't come at you yet.
Right.
Then as things progress, now they talking to you crazy. Now you're mad. You start talking back because, hey, we've been down this road before. You said you weren't going to talk to me like that before. Now you talking crazy back to him like, hey, you can't talk to me like that. You can't blah 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 blah. Now the more mad you're getting mad, now they're getting madder. Then as it starts to escalate, then then it starts to get out of control. Then now, because they've said everything that they want to say, and you're not backing down, you're getting upset with them. You are holding them accountable for what they said to you. Now they're getting angry. When they can't figure out what words to say, now they're using their hands and
Absolutely.
their fists.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a slow progression from the verbal abuse into the physical abuse, and
And,
and not saying in all cases, but in a lot of
right.
cases, I've heard so many stories of it developing in that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Well, just to add in real quick, and I'll let y'all keep rocking. I think that's a big part of, like, as a man, men, we don't handle words as well.
Y'all don't have a lot
So
as well. But
yeah.
words, yeah, you're right.
No, no, we can't. We're very logical, but typically a man, once you're having an argument on a certain level, from the women are gonna beat you at the tongue. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna beat you there. And I'm not saying it's a woman's fault. I'm saying that as a man, we are we are used to, when things get to a certain point, we either gotta walk away. You gotta know, that's the thing about being a man. You gotta know how to walk away or be like, okay, all right, cool. This has gone as far as it could go. Because it's a different thing when two men are talking shit to each other. It's
Yeah.
at a certain point, somebody's gonna throw some hands, and it's just gonna be that way, or we gonna walk away.
Yep.
But I think it's kind of a tipping point for men where they can't handle their anger, or can't handle whatever's
You
going
know
on.
what?
You
I'm gonna rewind back to what she said. Y'all can't handle
know?
accountability. That's the biggest
Okay.
thing. Is most abusers are always called out on their shit, and when you call them out on their shit, they can't take it because you
Yeah.
are 100% right. You're providing facts, and they don't like it. So what do? They
Mm.
lash out because what are you saying? I'm going to leave you. I don't want to be bothered with you. Why do you continuously lie? They don't like for you to use that type of verbiage because they know that you are serious and that you're trying to leave. So what do? They start, like you said, with the verbal abuse. Then when you lash back out at them, then, oh, you trying to be smart. You trying to be like a man. And then they try and put you in a place where you're not supposed to be by putting their hands on you. And that's the
Mm.
big thing is it's all about accountability. Most of the time when people lash out and do the most outrageous things, it's because they're embarrassed and they don't want to be accountable. And that has to change. Men need to learn how to start being forthright with everything that they do and everything that they say. If you go to a woman and actually tell her the truth, a lot of 9 times out of 10, the relationship would be so totally different because y'all have an understanding. But most men, instead of providing the truth, they always want to tell you something, some alternative facts. And alternative facts, once you check them and they're not correct and you bring them back to him, then he wants to lash out and get mad at you because you found Susie May text in his phone, or you found somebody this in his car. And instead of you saying, well, hey, I did this, okay, you right, I've been talking to her, I like her, whatever, they don't like being held accountable. So instead, they'll lie and lie and lie. And then when you prove the point, what they do, lash out.
I
Mm-hmm.
love how you said
Yeah.
use the term alternative facts instead of just saying bullshit.
Listen, listen, because that's all it be.
I like that. Oh, you said they want to tell you some alternative
Listen,
facts
because
instead of
that's
just
what they
saying
do.
tell you
And
some bullshit.
just tell us the truth. Like, and I'm not even going to say that all men abuse women because they're
Oh,
lying. Because women
we
abuse men too.
obviously
Yeah.
I've hit. If you
Yeah.
we
ask
we
for
we
my exes,
talking
I've
Yeah.
hit before. But again, it was
we
because of his
we
yes.
talking in general, so it's all
You're
good. You
right.
ain't
You're
gotta.
right. But
We talking in all general,
listen,
so you ain't gotta qualify of
listen,
not
and
all,
I've been
not all.
caught up on some BS where I should have got slapped in the face for it, but I didn't. But we all hate being held accountable.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
point, and
Yeah.
you both hitting it from different angles. So one thing, sis, one thing you're talking about, twin, as far as a man, I think, is losing control. A man wants to have a certain level of control, and he feel like he don't have that. So that constantly keeps him on his back foot,
Mm-hmm.
where he feel like I gotta
Mm-hmm.
keep control over this woman in
Yeah.
this situation. And then
Hmm.
Viv, you talking about, in my opinion, you talking about more the guy who's probably cheating
Cheating,
and
lying,
getting
stealing, whatever.
and mad because you calling them out, and might even be
Mm-hmm.
worried that you might be doing the same thing or whatever the case is.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of that. Now, G, you don't have to get personal. Have you ever seen or even had a situation where you felt like a guy was on that type of time with you?
Personally, no, I
Okay,
haven't been through that, but
okay.
I do have a really close girlfriend that I, grew up with, and she did deal with that, and it was real serious to the point where she had to move to another state, to get away from him. She deactivated all her social media for a long
That's
time.
painful.
Um, yeah, yeah. Um, and now
Did he
I'm not gonna
stalk
say where she.
her? I'm just being because you. That's,
Um, the relationship just like said like it just progressed, it became abusive, and then she was just to the point, and this friend in particular is one that was always strong, you know what I mean, when we were
it
growing
normally
up, like
is
she
the
didn't
ones
take
that's
no.
strong because we talk back a lot,
Yeah. Yeah,
a lot.
like she didn't take any ish from anybody, you know what I mean.
Yep, I
So
know exactly
for
what
her
you
to
mean.
go through that, I wouldn't have never thought she would have to go through something like that,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that she had to move and just disconnect from everybody, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, for a long time, to the point where I was like, asking her mom, like, is she okay, is she still alive, like,
Did she have
I
babies?
didn't hear anything. She has a son like my son's age, like
Okay.
22, 23. um so he's still doing his thing or whatever, but like, yeah, but he stayed here,
Okay.
and while she got herself
That's
together
good.
out
She got
there.
herself together.
Now he's Yes, but now the son has since moved out there with her, which is good for her. And she
Did he
actually
know
recently
about the
had
abuse?
had a baby, so kudos to
Did he know
her
about the
for finding
abuse?
love.
Her son.
Not that I know
Okay.
of. No, and it wasn't his father either.
Okay.
Wasn't his father either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, it took her a long time to, and I'm sure she's still, still going through, whatever happened with that situation. But like said, like she has found love again. I'm so happy for her. She really actually just had a baby, another baby.
Really?
Okay.
So I'm so, I'm just so ecstatic for her because I know like she went through a lot with this whole situation, and just It was just awful. But yeah, yeah, that's the closest, that I've been to something like that.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
a very close friend. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, luckily,
yeah,
she made it out because a lot
yeah,
of situations they do escalate to a point. They do escalate to a point where people can die. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? And people kind of lose
yep,
lose control a lot of times. You know what I'm saying?
yep.
Yeah, I actually I would, I won't tell the whole. Well, I won't say any specifics, but there was a situation that happened actually outside of my house where some neighbors. It was a guy who'd been coming around here, and I
Mhm.
guess he was I guess he was cheating on his longtime girlfriend with the woman who lived uh in the next building over from me, and all of this unfolded in front of the house where this guy he walked out with the woman who he was cheating with, and then the longtime girlfriend pulled up and early in the morning and was blocking his car in because she caught them coming out. And you know, women can be violent too. You know, if
Sorry,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I
So,
have been.
and we take it a little bit differently when it comes to women, but at the end of the day, women kill men too. Women
that's
abuse
a
men and
fact.
kill men too.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
a lot of it comes down to how
that
you
didn't
handle
happen
your
though.
anger
Did
too.
she?
Yeah.
She didn't expire.
No, she didn't kill him.
Okay, I was just you didn't finish.
No,
Oh,
she
I'm
didn't.
sorry.
okay.
No, she didn't kill him. but
Woo.
but what
Okay.
she did, she blocked his car. Where he was trying to pull off, she blocked his car in the middle of the street, and he couldn't move his car. This guy almost had to drive over my lawn to escape. So she blocked his car for about 45 minutes, was going off on him, and luckily, luckily she eventually moved her car. But I don't know if she ever physically touched him, but by the way she talked to
Mhm.
him and the way she was going off, I wouldn't doubt if there was something physical there. You know
Surprised
what
she
I'm
didn't
saying?
bust his window out. Lord.
I'm
Mhm.
surprised too. Trust me. I mean, but I think a lot
Ooh.
of it comes to you have different levels or different things that lead to abuse. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When it comes to cheating, stalking, just regular wanting control. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot of signs. So I think obviously the verbal abuse is a sign,
Mhm.
and then another thing that people don't kind of see in the beginning, and this isn't always the case, a lot of people who try to isolate you away from friends or
Mhm.
family,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
that's typically one of the bigger things too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's
Because
so
sometimes
ridiculous.
people, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead,
No,
Vic.
I said it's so ridiculous when people do that because you have your day ones and your family that's been there for you and done
Yeah.
everything for you, and then you allow this person to isolate you, and then when you need them at the most important time, what you're going through with this person, they might not even be
Mm-hmm.
there for you because of what you do. And then when you give them a chance, then you
Yep.
go back. Nobody really cares about what happens after that. Like, it's sad, but I've seen that before. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
when you allow someone to isolate you from your loved ones and you don't see the manipulation, it's it's bad, it's sad, but it's like, whose fault is that?
Right.
You really allowed this person to do this, and I don't care what type of whatever you getting from him, it shouldn't be to where you stop talking to your family and your friends for.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
You know, on the
that part.
other side of that, though, too, I think that isolation comes in many forms. On a very personal level, my brother and I had not seen each other in 6 years. We saw each other on video, and we talked on the phone, everything like that. But we had not seen each other in person for 6 years, and this is highly unusual because we used to see each other at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
But during that
Mhm.
6 year period between 2018 and 2024, when I was going through what I was going through,
Mhm.
it's like it's weird because it's the nature of the relationship isolated me from my friends and family because it was situational isolation. It wasn't necessarily
Mhm.
that he tried to isolate me from my family, but because of his behavior,
Mm.
I didn't feel comfortable allowing my family to
Mhm.
be around as much.
Mhm.
My mom came over and stuff like that, and that was a disaster. But it made me very apprehensive about allowing anybody to come over to my house or taking him anywhere,
Yeah.
because there was always a high level of anxiety for me
Mm. Mm.
when other people was
Yeah.
around, or allowing people to come over,
Mm.
because sometimes how things were going to go might depend on what kind of mood he was in.
Mm.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
sometimes, depending on how things would escalate, he would be out of control, just off the chain. And I would always be scared that he gonna start
Yeah.
acting a fool while other people are around.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was just easier not to invite anybody over.
Mm.
It was
Mhm.
easier not to go anywhere with him,
Right.
because
Yeah.
that was one less. I have so many other things to worry about with him.
Mhm.
Why add that to the list?
Mhm.
So I think that situational isolation
Mhm.
is a big thing too, that some people don't realize. And it's not that,
Mhm.
yeah, for some people they choose the man over their friends and family. That's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can honestly say I didn't do that, and I think my friends and family would concur that I didn't choose him over them at all.
Mhm.
But it was just that I just didn't want to bring him around at a certain point,
Mhm.
Well, you
because
know what?
he was too much of a loose cannon.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree. I think a lot of times what happens is that women don't necessarily tell about stuff until it gets to a point where
Can't
it's
hide it
hard not to
anymore.
see it per
Mhm.
se,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
But a lot of times I think most people who are abused, they don't tell their family and friends. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, so
Right.
they kind of keep it on the quiet.
Right.
Hmm.
And then
And it's
on the
easier to
on
hide it when you don't let people get too close.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the other part of it is too is that you know, pe- for those of us who know people who've been abused or close to, how to deal with it. I think that's the hard thing too. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because luckily things didn't get to a place, at least with us personally, things didn't get to that place as far as someone having to go to jail. But,
Mhm.
you know, for men, it's difficult if anybody's close to you, daughter, sister, cousin, whatever, close friend. It's hard to know that because a lot of times now, in some situations, you could just go whoop the person ass. But now we can go outside of the personal for a second. I want to talk general too, because there's a lot of situations where you go and whoop this guy's ass, and then woman is mad at you.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
a very dynamic thing when someone's being abused, depending on the phase of that relationship. You
That's
may go
right.
hurt that guy if you're a family member or cousin or whatever.
Mhm.
You might have everybody got some crazy uncles, crazy cousins, stuff like that, who will go and go put in some
Yep.
work. But then it's like you do that, and then the woman might be like, "What are you doing? I love this man." You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it could be a different, not like I said, it's not personal as far as this particular panel, but
Right.
we've all seen that before. You know, so that becomes a very weird situation for people who want to protect you and help you out.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
becomes strange, and then on top of that, in real life, you put this person in the ground. Now you're gonna go to jail for life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
Right.
it's a very complex situation in
Mhm.
that respect. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that lends to the point of why women keep it silent. You know what I'm saying? They don't really say anything. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
especially
do know that I've been in a situation where I had somebody that I wasn't dating any longer, but they was staying in my house and they had their own room, and then they got mad because me and my son was in our room and they thought that they could come in there, and no, you can't. And they were drinking and they had access to their weapon, so I pulled mine out. They had theirs out. My daughter called
Oof.
911. All I know is Riverdale police, because I was living in my building at that time. Riverdale police came inside the house in the building, took his ass to jail. My daughter called 911 for me. So and she had not did it, I don't know how that situation was going to end because I had my son in
Mhm.
my hand. And one thing I
Mhm.
don't do is play about my kids and in
Mhm.
Right.
any type of
Right.
situation. And I will put you in the ground for my kids, the ones that I brought into this earth. So don't play with me like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But it
Mm-hmm.
he wound up
Back
losing
up.
his weapon. They took mine for like 30 days, gave it back to me because I do have a concealed carry. However, it was
Okay.
just an
Mhm.
unfortunate situation. I hate that my kid had to see that. But
Mhm.
when you say, things about, how people isolate themselves with that person, when I was with that person at some point, I isolated myself. Like, I didn't want nobody around that person because that
Mhm.
person wasn't
Exactly.
for me. You understand what I'm saying? So
Right.
for
Mhm.
that part, yeah, like
Right.
having
Mhm.
people come to your house and then this person be embarrassing. But see, me, I don't play that. See, I'm like a fire starter. So you try it with me, I'm gonna pull it with you. What we gonna do is we'll fight it out. But one thing I'm not gonna do is just sit back and let you put your hands on me, and I'm not gonna do nothing about it. So it's just,
Hmm.
sometimes women go through that and they accept that the beatings, the ass whoopings. Me, no, we both gonna be bumped and bruised because you not finna get the best of me. And
And see, that is something that see I feel the same way.
mhm,
Okay.
Mhm.
And that is something that ends up being such a
yeah,
dangerous situation.
yeah,
And you start I was that girl that ain't no man ever gonna put his hands on me. He's not gonna talk to me like that. I was the
Mhm.
last person anybody would ever think would end up in a situation like
mhm,
that. I never thought I'd end up in a situation like that. I
Mhm.
ignorantly thought that, oh, battered women syndrome. I didn't believe in it. I felt like that was for the weak,
mhm,
Mhm.
and I never considered myself to be weak. But you don't know what your mind is going to go
yeah,
through when you enter a relationship with somebody and you're struggling with compassion for this
right,
person,
Mhm.
love for this person,
Mhm.
because they're not,
Mhm.
if they were all bad from the beginning, you would have never got with them.
absolutely,
So there
Right.
obviously was
Right.
some good there. There was something that
Right.
led you to fall in love with this person, to want to start a life with this person, and
Mhm.
and be all these things. But then when they start bucking up on you, you start bucking up
mhm,
back. And you're like, wait a minute, you're not going to put your hands on me. They start swinging, you start swinging.
Mhm.
Now you're throwing, you're going to blows with each other,
Mhm.
and it's getting out of control.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah.
times with men are very ego driven.
very,
So when their ego gets hurt, especially if you
Mhm.
start, when it's a physical fight and you start fighting back and you start getting some licks in, that ego driven response can lead to this, just a lack of impulse control, especially, and then when you're dealing with somebody who may have issues with maturity
PTSD.
and control as it is.
Mhm.
Now, or you have a personality type that, hey, if you do something to them, they want to go 10 times as hard on you to get back at you. So
Mhm.
now things are really, really
Mhm.
escalating and
Well, they're
escalating.
not fighting you like a man at
Yeah.
that
Now,
point.
right now you're fighting.
Now they're
Okay.
fighting you like you're a man.
Yeah.
Then yes, they're fighting you like you're a man.
Yeah.
You choose now. In my situation, I'm like, you know what? This is wrong. I can't be hitting him back, you know, or I can't be, bucking up on him, getting in his face, talking crazy either. This is wrong. This is not how things should go. Now, me having the wherewithal to backtrack and say, okay, no, if we want to have, a sane and stable relationship, because now we have children, we can't talk to each other like that. We can't get each other's faces like that.
Mhm.
However, it's like once a certain line was crossed, there was no going back. So even though I stopped hitting and I stopped, defending myself, now he's not stopping. Now he's still going ham.
Mhm.
Now it's still escalating. And most of the reason why a lot of people end up getting killed is because heat of passion. Doesn't They don't know when to stop.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then when you were talking about how he's drinking, he pulled out a weapon.
Mhm.
That could have easily been my situation. Thank God I didn't get any weapons until way after I left him, because I already knew I cannot have any weapons around you. I will. One
Mhm.
of us is going to end up dead. But that, but it, a lot, sometimes it don't even take all that, because
That's true.
the worst night of all, he's strangling me. You're in a state of shock because you can't even believe what's happening in the moment. And I remember in the moment thinking, "Wow, is this is what people go through when they get strangled to death? This is these are my final minutes. This is what happens." All these stories of these documentaries were flashing in my head of all these women who had got strangled to death, whether it was for whether it was a serial killer or whatever. In my
Mhm.
mind, I'm thinking, so this is what it feels like to be strangled to death,
Mm.
because he's not stopping, and I'm fighting. I'm literally fighting for my life, and I'm in shock. And as I'm feeling myself getting ready to go limp, I'm finally able to get pry his hands, because I'm fighting with everything I got.
Mm.
And it's almost like he was in a trance,
And he probably
you know,
was.
and
Yeah.
and he's strangling me from behind. So I have these big hands around my neck, and I'm doing like this,
Oh my God.
and I'm getting weaker, and I'm getting weaker. And when you're being strangled, you almost start to you start to lose control of your bowels. That is something that happens
Mm.
when people get strangled. They end up usually, their bowels, but I didn't get to that point. But I could feel myself wanting to pee on myself, and I could feel myself wanting to black out. But I had two kids in the other room, and I'm like, in my mind, thinking it can't end like this. It can't.
Mhm.
It just can't end like this. This can't be it. And surprisingly, I still stayed with him for another 2 years, I think, after that, because my mind went into defense mode. It's almost like I blacked it out. I blocked it out for a while, because I'm
Mhm.
like, no, that couldn't have just actually happened. It couldn't have been like that. He couldn't have meant to.
Mhm.
And then I'm letting him convince me, oh, well, I would have never killed you. You were out of control.
Mhm.
That's what happens. People get out of control and they accidentally kill each other all the time.
Well, I think that, I
Mm.
think once people cross that line, it's not that you can't go back, but most of the time, once you cross that line physically, you know what I'm saying? It's probably gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never put my hands on a woman like in that level, but
Mhm.
obviously, throughout my time on this earth, I've had heated arguments with people I've been with. You know what I'm saying? I've been
Mhm.
married almost 10 years now. And I mean, we've had arguments, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I never had the I never had the
Absolutely.
urge to like to smack, to smack or punch a woman. It just don't
Mhm.
make sense for me
Mhm.
personally. I think that if I'm mad on any level, I'm just gonna leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that's kind of how I'd say most men are.
Mhm.
But
Hmm.
there are men who can't control how mad they get. You know what I'm saying? And they
Right.
will look at a woman like a man. They'll look at you like a dude, and
Mhm.
they will cross that line. I think once that line has been crossed, it's unlikely that you're gonna come back at that point.
True.
You
Right.
know.
Not only
So
that,
Right.
it's just that a lot of men that are abusers, like she said, or you might have said it, they watched their parents be abused, or they saw their mama
right.
be abused. And
Mhm.
because their dad did it and their mama didn't stand up for herself, or their stepdad did it to their mom, and they watched that over the years, and they probably was abused by their parent, they become
Hmm.
abusers and they recycle that foundation. And it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's sad
Mhm.
because it's just like something that keeps going, because if,
Yeah.
if if
Right.
you see that as a kid, then now you're doing it to somebody else's mama, and then they see that as a kid. You understand what I'm saying? And then
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
some people might think it's okay to be abused because they saw their
Yep.
mama being abused their whole life, and they
Yep.
look up to their mama, and they're like, okay, well, my
Yep.
Right.
mama allowed this man to do this, or my mama allowed him to do that. That's the same thing like with molestation. Unfortunately, if men do that to women's kids, a lot of people don't speak up about it, and it
Mhm.
just it
100%.
Yeah,
just
it's more.
recycles itself, and it just keep going and
Mhm.
keep going. And it's like, how do we reach people and be able to talk to people to get them to stand up for themselves and leave that situation? You know what I'm saying? Or
Yes.
turn in that uncle
Yeah.
that's touching the key. You know, it's a lot
Mhm.
that goes into
No, you're
abuse.
absolutely right. You're
And
Indeed.
absolutely right. Un-
Yep.
until
absolutely
we
right.
get like a real platform on how to curb it, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
continuously recycle itself throughout our communities. I went to
Mhm.
a domestic violence dinner last year because I
Okay.
was a vendor there.
Okay.
And they had some really good speakers on talking about domestic violence and the situations that they have been through and the abuse that they suffered or succumbed to, and what they did to get out of those relationships. Some of the women were in those relationships for over 20 years being abused and thought that it was something regular to go through in life. And
Mhm.
until you
Mm-hmm.
understand that this man hitting me is not normal. This man hitting me is something that
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be happening.
Right.
This man hitting me should be sending him to jail. Then the cycle of abuse will never, it has to start with you owning up to understanding that that is not right. And until a person
Right.
own up and understand that that is not right and you don't deserve that treatment, I don't care what you say.
Mhm.
If you say something so bad to hurt that man's ego, he should just get up and leave you. Because if you are the person that is making him feel less than a man, maybe he should be with a different woman. Why
Mhm.
until like take it out on you and beat you because you're telling him ways to level himself up?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men don't. That's another
Mhm.
thing. They don't want to level up. So when you don't want to level up and you want to continuously do the bum stuff that you've been doing day in and day out, and you don't want to grow, you have this one
Mhm.
job that you've been working at for years and you haven't excelled and got a promotion or anything. It's
Mhm.
just like, what are you trying to do with yourself? What are you trying to do with life? Men don't like to hear that
Yep.
because they don't like change a lot. Most men, they are comfortable with what they're doing, and until they feel like they need to grow, if you try and help them elevate, they don't want that help. So it's
Well,
Mhm.
I love that you said
Yeah.
that because that kind of that's another piece I think to this conversation too. Now, I have to agree with you. I think that it depends on the delivery, and again, there's never an excuse to hit a woman. Um, but I do think that sometimes, yeah, it depends on how that man takes that information in. Because if you're a woman and you do talk to a man about certain sensitive things as far as income or whatever his passions and things like that,
stop smoking.
there's some guys that they may, if they're already super insecure,
Mhm.
they'll take it a certain way. And
They feel like
I
shaming
think
them.
a man who goes to
Mhm.
that level, a man who goes that route is a sucker. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of guys who they don't have that
Drive.
they don't have that level of standards of behavior. And
Mhm.
also to your point, Viv, you talked about repeat repeating what you saw. That's a big point because you're right.
Mhm.
There's statistically most boys who saw their mother abused or they've
Mhm.
seen abuse go on to abuse. You know what I'm saying? You would think it'd be the opposite, but it's just
It's
like you
not.
said. Same thing as
Right.
molestation, like you said. People a lot of times repeat what they saw. So
Mhm.
it becomes normalized to people when they've
Yep.
grown up in it and they saw their mom or dad um or whoever, typically mom or dad or mom's boyfriend or whatever the case is, and they see their mother get abused, they
Mhm.
start to see women kind of like that, and they kind of feel like, well, this is normal,
Mhm.
and it's not such a bad
And
thing
they
if I need
don't
to get her in.
respect their moms. And
Yeah.
people wonder why these kids are out here doing certain things and shooting up stores
Mhm.
and stealing cars. It's because the love that they're supposed to be getting at home is not there. A lot of moms
Right.
are being abused in
Mhm.
households and kids are seeing it daily. And the thing about that is
Mhm.
when that man do leave the mom or whatever, you still have that kid that have to live there with that weak mom. That's what he views her in his eyes
Mhm.
as, very weak. So they don't respect their moms, and they end up doing the same thing that that man was doing before he left the household because they already know that their mom is weak and they can run over their mom. And a lot of people don't understand that that's one of the biggest problems in our society with kids, because that's all they see is abuse and no love in the household. And until those kids start getting
Mhm.
love and stop and understand that that's not supposed to happen, that's not normal, you're going to continuously see a cycle of abuse. And then when the ladies are raising the kids alone as single moms, you're going to see these kids that continuously go out here, leave the house in the middle of the night because they don't respect their mom,
Mhm.
and stealing from, stealing cars and robbing people, 10, 12-year old now. It's ridiculous how young they are and
Mhm.
how young the crimes, the crimes that are being committed for the age group. 12 years old. My son is
No,
12
that's a fact.
and he can't go outside. My
That's a
son
fact.
don't have friends. So,
That's a fact.
so it's
No,
like,
Yep.
it's gotten that way for sure, and I think
Mhm.
I'm gonna flip the coin on y'all though. I gotta flip the coin. So we gotta talk about the female abuse. We gotta talk about that. And whether we like it or not, we do look at it differently in society. Women
Mhm.
put their hands on men. And again,
Mhm.
we're not talking personal. We're just talking
I'll
general
tell the truth. I
in
have.
our
I'm not gonna lie and say I haven't.
now. Okay, so
My daughter's father. I'm sorry. I
no, no, please.
I hit you a
Before
couple
we get
times. I didn't
before we
mean it,
get
but no, yeah.
well, no, before we get into that, I'm gonna play. I want to play a video. I want to talk about a couple of recent cases where it was female aggression.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
tell me, what were the situations that you put your hands on your daughter's father?
Hormones a
Um,
lot. I was pregnant, like one of the first times, and we was just
okay,
arguing, and I forgot to pay the light bill, and I think they disconnected the lights, and I called, made the payment to get the lights. No, I'm lying. I cut the lights off and took them out of my name in the apartment because he pissed me off because he was talking crap, and they turned the lights out. And then I told him, you put the lights in your name. So he got mad at me because I was pregnant and sound. So this is the type of mama you gonna be. Oh, okay. So I did, through hormones, pop him 1 or 2 times. And, he got mad, he left, whatever. We made up and came back together. But definitely was hormones that day. Definitely. It's just, with him saying, is this the kind of mother you going to be? It really, like, enraged me and really pissed me off. And I was just like, oh. And sometimes I don't know how to control my hands. Back in those days. Now I'm better. But back in those days,
well, you you know what, you're being
I'm
honest, and
very
I
honest.
think
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know what, let's here's the thing. The thing I always do is I keep it real. So there's always what's interesting. I just want to take this moment to say that you see how when we talk about women putting their hands on men, we almost all smirk a little bit. It's just weird. But now, and I'm not talking about women putting their hands on men
I was
in
wrong.
a fight where the man is hitting
No,
them. We that's
that's
different.
not what
So when a woman is defending herself, that's
was
one thing.
not.
But when a woman smack a man up or whatever,
I
we
was
do
looking
look
for
at
a
it a little
fight.
bit differently.
I was.
And I appreciate you being honest about
Well,
that.
Mhm.
that's the culture that we live in, though. We live in a society for generations where it's almost acceptable for a woman to hit a man because
Mhm.
it's how society was defining
It's
masculinity.
nature.
A man should be able to. We not that it's right. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that it's right, but we live in a. You can go back to the '70s TV shows,
Mhm.
maybe not so much as in the '60s. I don't know. But as far as I can remember, even when I look at pop culture from the '70s all the way up until now,
Mhm.
men are supposed to be able to take
Right.
it. If a woman slaps
Mhm.
you, if she pushes you, or whatever, you're a man. You're supposed to
Walk
just be
away.
able to take it. You're just supposed to walk away and just leave it alone. As a woman, okay, if he does something to you, he talks crazy to you, or he does this, you need to smack the
Absolutely.
shit out of him, and you need to let him know. You need to
Yeah.
put him
Absolutely.
in his place. That is the
That.
that's the culture that we
Mhm.
live in. And the only way we're going to stop these cycles of abuse is if we gotta nip that in the bud. It's not okay for anybody to hit anybody.
Right.
When we start normalizing, well, it's okay for a woman to hit a man, but a man should never hit a
Yeah.
woman. He's supposed to walk away. He's not supposed to do
Mm-hmm.
this. He's not supposed to do that. Then we are setting up
We
this double
did.
standard, a
Well,
very
think
dangerous
about it. Think
double
about it for a
Mm-hmm.
minute.
standard.
Women are far more violent than they used to be back in the day.
We are.
If you look at the
That
if
is
you
Yeah.
look
true.
at the young girls, when I go online today
Mm-hmm.
and I see a lot of the fights, I see
Mm-hmm.
far more fights with women tearing up the IHOP, tearing up the Waffle House.
It's all women.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's all women. And let me tell you something.
Women get
Women of
Yeah.
tearing it
color,
up.
I'm
You're
just
not
gonna talk
lying.
about our
You're
group.
not
We
lying.
have anger issues. Our culture, our group, our generations, we have anger issues. We don't like nobody staring at us. We don't like nobody rolling their eyes at us. We have problems with everything that we see. Like if this person is doing this, oh, they doing that. Like are just we start off negative. Like that's just
Mm-hmm.
Well, that goes to that whole
yeah,
stereotype of black women
yep,
being
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
and this this
and
this culture of, in order to be strong, in order to be
Mm-hmm.
badass, in order to not take no shit from nobody, then you gotta be angry
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta be ready to fight. And I dare somebody
yep.
to say some shit to me because I'm gonna slap the shit out
Right.
of her. If she says something to
You
me, she look at me crazy
you
one more
can't
time.
even
I'm
tell
gonna
Mm-hmm.
give her a
somebody that
reason.
they
No,
tag is
you see
sticking
what I'm
out their
Yep.
saying?
shirt nowadays without them getting an attitude.
Right.
It's like
Every there
Yeah.
I'm just
that's
trying to
another
help you out, but
distorted.
okay, like it's
Exactly.
hard to
And
talk
that's
to
that's a
us.
whole nother
Yeah.
distorted view of black women and black
Mm-hmm.
strength as, black strength, being distorted into black
And
anger and
meanness.
aggression. And
Mm-hmm.
the two are not synonymous. They don't
No.
have to go
Mm-hmm.
together. But I think that our pop culture again has twisted these two to go together to make it seem like, okay, if you don't want to look like a
Mm-hmm.
punk, then you got to be ready and willing to fight if somebody says
Absolutely.
something crazy to
Right.
you. That's how you make people
Well,
respect
Mm-hmm.
you.
let's look at that. So when you have all of what you guys are saying, what you all are saying, you have some relationships where the abuse may start with the woman, right? And that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the abusive relationships may start with the actual woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we kind of snicker about, I mean, if a woman punch, I've never been punched by a woman, you know what I'm saying? Like on that level. I've probably been pushed before, but I just kind of laugh. I just kind of smirk. You know what I'm saying? I don't take it seriously, although I should take it seriously. I don't take it seriously, and I haven't been in a lot of crazy, tumultuous relationships like that. But
Mm-hmm.
if a woman was to punch me, I probably would kind of be, I would be shocked. I probably smirk or laugh like this is crazy. But
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, I think yes, I think the women of today are far more
Aggressive.
there is more of a acceptance to be a little more violent. And I think
Hmm.
not just well, we're talking about black women, and
And we
again,
can
people
talk
always
about
get
women
mad.
in
Like,
general.
oh,
It's
no,
not
it's not
Mm-hmm.
just
all black
us.
women. So let me just
I
say
can
that
speak on
now.
us
Not
because I know us, but it's not just us.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm making my disclaimer because everybody get mad and it's because it's not all black women, but we're
Mm-hmm.
just talking about us because we're talking about us.
Right.
But I want to actually play this video about this and twin, you brought this up to me about this OnlyFans model
Hmm.
who killed her boyfriend, right?
Hmm.
And let me play this. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
play that, and I want to talk about Jonathan Majors too,
Okay.
because there's some situations where the men is actually trying to they try
Mm-hmm.
to walk away. Men are supposed to walk away, and sometimes when the men try to walk away, because it's so acceptable for women to be aggressive, women feel comfortable
Hmm.
being like, "No, it ain't over. I'm gonna follow you everywhere," and da da da.
Right.
Da. And then, so let me play this. I'm
Right.
gonna play a little
I
clip of
remember
this.
that
This
clip.
is Courtney Courtney what is her name? Courtney Clenny or Cleany, if I'm saying her name correctly. She's the OnlyFans model, and she ended up killing her boyfriend. So I think she's either still on trial or
We've also, from the beginning, been looking at this elevator video where it looks like Courtney Clenny is the aggressor, punching Christian, pulling his hair, going after him, screaming at him. But Courtney Clenny, her parents, have a different version of what's happening in this elevator video. Here's what they told TMZ. That elevator went directly to her landing to go into her apartment. She had a $12,000 a month apartment where the elevator goes straight to hers, right? And you can see how desperate she is for him not to follow her. She's trying to push him off the elevator because she doesn't want him to come in. And you can see he's like a rock. Her trying to push him out, and she can't push him out. And I think the people shown that video do tend to cut out the part where he has her in a headlock. Now, who's the aggressor? Who's the victim? And is this going to be a viable defense in front of the jury that she's in fear of her life?
So that video there, and I don't know why. It's again, it's a different thing when the man is obviously the aggressor. It's not as I don't smirk, but for whatever reason, I'm just looking at like this chick is wilding out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now we don't know what happened before or after, but it goes back to the point of like it don't look like she's trying to get away from him or that he's beating her. It kind of looked like
Right.
she's going to work on him, and he's like, "Let me put you in a headlock, so you could chill." So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I followed this
Oh, you
case,
did?
and they actually have other audio tapes that I think that she recorded and he recorded on both of their devices, where you can clearly hear that she's the aggressor in all of these. That video was when around the time that she first got arrested and stuff. As things developed, you can hear on these tapes where she almost sounds like the devil. She's screaming at the top of her lungs. I mean, something's wrong up here. She's screaming and screaming, and you can tell when you listen to these tapes. It's like this is an abuse. He's got battered
How did
man
she?
syndrome
What is she
because
charged
he's
with?
like
Okay, so she.
murder.
How did she kill him?
She
I
stabbed him
do
to death
remember that clip. I
later
didn't
on.
follow the
She
case
stabbed
all
him
the
to
way,
death.
but I do remember that clip. As soon as you showed it, I said, "Oh yeah,
You remember that
I
one?
remember it." Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so on these tapes, you can hear her being emotionally abusive, violent, and disrespectful in a way like you're thinking to yourself, who's gonna put up with that? And 9 times out of 10, it's reversed. You're thinking, why is this woman staying with this man and he's talking to her like that and treating her, you know? And it's the total opposite. She's like, you better effing go get my phone and find my phone for me. Do this for me. I mean, she's talking to him like he's a dog. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he
Right.
with her?
Well, let me let
Leave.
me let me
And he's being
let me
calm on the
offer a
tapes.
reason.
Mm.
Now, some men, not
Mm,
me, but some men kind of like when a woman is wilding out because they feel like they're kind of acting up over them. They're showing up, and there's different levels to it, obviously, but some men kind of like that a little bit. They kind of think it's cute. Oh, she's worked up. She'll whoop any female who look at me. She'll whoop their ass, and she's hitting on me and she's fussing over me. So it's kind of like, you know, and that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, boost your ego a little bit, but it can always get out a little out of control because anytime
it's
somebody's getting
very out of
physical with
control.
you, even if it's a woman, it could get a little crazier because one day she's fighting other woman, next day she's shooting at your car, and the
Right.
next day she's shooting at your head. So it can get that way, but I think
Yep.
some guys think it's cute, you know. Un-
I mean,
Yeah. Some
and
do.
when they talked about the actual stabbing, it was clear it was not in self
Mm.
defense. I mean, she stabbed dude to death. I mean, it just
Mm.
and in my mind, I'm thinking he probably never thought it would come
he
to that.
probably didn't. He
Right.
probably didn't.
But I
Most men
mean,
don't.
there was other tapes, and even some of her friends had testified in the doc, or they said in their documentary about her that she was wilding out because he said hi to one of her
Mm.
friends. That's all he did was they saw each other, I don't know, on the street or something like that. Her friend was like, "Oh hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh hey, how you doing?" And that was it. And she went
Mhm.
nuts. I'm like,
Smallest
Yes.
things can
for
set them off.
other people in hindsight, it's like you can see the writing on the
Mhm.
wall. Like
Mhm.
she's not, from what I had heard, I think I don't know if it was family members of his or something like that that had urged him to get away from her because she was
Mm.
crazy.
You know what's crazy
Yeah.
is that
But
men don't be in fear of their lives like that. They don't really
Uh
don't
huh.
be in fear until it's actually getting shot at or stabbed
Mm.
and it's in the works. They don't
hmm
really see it
That's
coming.
why
You
they
know what I'm
always
saying?
say
Mhm.
And
you not gonna do it. You
hmm
ain't gonna do nothing
yeah,
until it get done
Right.
they
to
just
them.
don't. They, until
Right.
it, yeah,
hmm
they don't see it. And
Mhm.
the other thing about this too is that I'm not justifying any man putting his hand on a woman, but one of the things I always think that women have to understand too, uh, always a potential. If you are putting your hands on a man, there's always the possibility he'll knock you out. There's a
Absolutely.
possibility.
Mhm.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
and that's again, it's not personal to y'all, but
It's
it's
the
just
Mhm.
something
truth.
that we got to teach our
Oh, I've
girls.
seen it.
Because you know
Mhm.
what?
Oh, that's the truth,
There's a
though.
lot of young
That's
girls,
Mhm.
the
even
truth.
right now, even outside of relationships. There's a lot. I see a lot of video on the internet of young girls going to fight grown men and jumping at officers and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you put your hands on a man, and we're not talking about your boyfriend, we're
Mhm.
just
A
talking about
regular
men
man.
you may encounter.
Right. Right.
Especially if you put your hands on a man who ain't your man,
Mm.
an officer, or you trying to fight some dude,
Mhm.
you're gonna be fair game. Men don't
Absolutely.
all men are not playing.
Most
You know what I'm
men
saying?
don't
They're
care
not playing
about
by
hitting
that
them. Not
rule that
most
Well,
men, but some men don't
you
care
know
about
what?
hitting a woman, and they will lay you out.
And the thing is,
yes.
Mhm.
I feel like in scenarios like that, we're we're not even just talking about a woman hitting a man. We're talking about the right to self
Absolutely.
defense. If a
Mhm.
woman, regardless of who it is, if
Yeah.
someone, another person is coming at you aggressively, where they are trying to beat
Mhm.
you, punch you in the face, stab you, shoot you, whatever it
Mhm.
is, then you have the right to
Absolutely.
defend
But a lot of
yourself.
women don't see
And
it that way.
I don't think, me personally, I really don't think that as a man you have any less right to differentiate that threat if it's a man or if it's a woman. If a woman is coming at you with a machete, are you going to say,
Well,
well, she's a woman, so,
a
I
machete
can't,
may be an
Mhm.
extreme
you know what
example,
I mean?
but if a woman,
I'm just saying,
if a
though.
woman coming
I'm
at you with
saying.
these, if she coming at you with her fists, there's some women, and it's funny too because a lot of times men will underestimate it. You'll get your ass clocked a few times, and then,
Absolutely.
you know
I've
what I'm
seen
saying?
women knock men clean out. So,
Mhm.
Yes.
some women can handle a man. Most
Not
can't.
not all women are scratching. Some women
No,
actually
Right.
some of
Oh
them got
no.
them hands and like
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
ain't playing
Straight
yes.
with
up
you,
punches.
sir.
Yeah.
You end up getting caught.
See, women like to use weapons. We'll pick up whatever we
We
see:
do.
a bottle, a
Mhm.
scooper, a baseball bat. Women like to pick up knives.
Yeah.
If a woman is coming at you like that,
You better be prepared.
you have the right to
Mhm.
defend
Better stay
yourself.
ready.
You have, as a man, I feel like men have the right to defend themselves
Absolutely.
just as much as we
Mhm.
do. If a man comes at me with anything, I have the right to
You
defend
Mhm.
better.
Well,
myself. And I don't
everybody
think
would agree
that.
with that, but I think that
Mhm.
Viv, you talked about earlier about men taking accountability, and I think also too, our girls, we have to teach our girls to take accountability too, because there's a
Oh my
lot of
God,
Oh
we
young
yeah.
do.
For sure.
violent girls who
It's so
will
many.
Yeah.
they'll jump out there and they'll fight, and a lot of times, and this is just my opinion, I think a lot of young girls will jump out there and fight, and then when they get clocked, they'll be like, oh, how could
They
you hit a
wasn't
woman?
ready. They
Right.
You know
wasn't
what I'm
ready.
saying?
You
How could
Right.
you
talk
put your
all
hands on
that
a woman?
shit, and then
Yep.
you got your ass whooped, and
Yeah.
now you still now you crying. But you
Mhm.
have to
Right.
be prepared for
Yes.
Right.
whatever
I
is
think that
coming.
there's.
Right.
You can't just
And a
go
lot
out
of
Yeah.
there and
They're
that,
not
attack
thinking about
somebody
that.
and think not nobody gonna do nothing.
Mhm.
Like,
yes.
come on now.
Exactly.
and a lot of that creeps into the relationship. That's why I'm bringing it up, because there's a
Mm,
lot of
Mm-hmm.
times. That's
Hmm.
why I'm flipping the coin. There's a lot of women who they don't mind being violent, but
mhm.
it's they don't because some men aren't just gonna take it. Some men are gonna end up smacking you or punching you back, and
Right.
then the woman call the police. So, for instance, I want to
Mhm.
play this Jonathan Majors. Now, Jonathan, we all saw the Jonathan Majors one,
Oh yeah.
and that was wild because I'm just
Yeah,
gonna play it for context. But this guy,
it was.
I mean, it is funny because this guy, he looked like he was trying to run down. How many blocks in
Some
Manhattan he
blocks.
ran down trying to escape? I
Right.
mean, my man was trying to get out of there. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and
Ooh.
she was like, "Oh, he punched her in the car, whatever." Oh, I know he looked like he was trying to get away.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, look at my man; he is running.
This was
Yeah, he
around the
like
time when him and Megan Good started dating, right?
I exact. Yeah, he got with me. I mean, I mean when
Sorry.
Oh
Shut
my
up.
God.
I mean this, no, this video is funny because he's literally running
He
away,
running.
Yes.
and she's chasing him.
She's chasing.
Now,
He should have just kept running.
and this look how
Right. He
far he's
did
running. He's
stop.
running
Right. He
like
did stop.
2 city blocks.
Mm-hmm.
He is out of there.
And she's
You know, and
still
Still
right on
going.
his tail.
on his and the crazy thing is that they had the nerve to look at her. She's still chasing him, and they had the
She's
nerve to
crazy.
act like he. Well, I don't know what happened behind closed doors, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
had the nerve to really take a lot away from him. His career
Oh
got
my
really
gosh.
messed up
Yes.
because of this.
Hmm.
I saw that he just now got a new role in something, but he was on par to
Mhm.
like he lost a lot of bread behind this.
Yeah,
He sure
Marvel.
did.
I mean
A
that. I
You
mean,
lot.
know,
A lot of bread. And there's a
yeah.
lot of some people respect too. And he really I
Mm-hmm.
think that he did what he was supposed to do in the light of what was going on and the circumstances that he was presented. And
no,
yet
Mm-hmm.
that's
he
the
still
epitome of the right thing. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
walk away. My man ran
he
away.
ran.
Mm-hmm.
And he still lost a lot behind
He
He
that.
lost a
did.
lot,
He did lose a
and
lot. And now,
and it wasn't just a sister; it
That's
was
that
the
double
angelic
standard.
snow bunny. Snow bunnies get violent too. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead,
Listen,
G. I didn't mean to
first
cut you off,
off,
G.
I
that
was just
I
gonna say
love
she
Lifetime
dropped the
movies for a
charges.
reason. I'ma just say that and end that because I started watching Lifetime movies and they just got our people on there. So imagine how the movies was before we were infiltrated into that station. So understand that we understand how a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people of other races do just as much weird shit as we do.
They
They
do.
just get away with it better. Like
They do.
That's a
and they get
fact.
movies made after their crimes. We don't get our
That's a
movies
fact.
made.
And I was just
So
saying too,
Mm-mm.
like now I think she dropped the charges, like
Oh, did
she
she?
officially.
should have.
I think she did, and I was like, you did all of this. He lost all of that, and now you just dropped the case. Like,
Didn't
come
he
on.
get? Didn't they didn't prosecute him, or they were
They
gonna?
did prosecute him because remember Megan Good
He,
went to wasn't that the
they
trial that
went
she
to
was at?
court. Yeah,
Right.
they went to court and everything, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I swear I saw that in the news that the lady just she dropped the charges. But I mean, we can go back and do the official research, but I swear I saw that. And I was just
Mm-mm.
like, are you kidding me? He lost a major, I mean, Marvel. He lost
That
that.
was
I mean,
yeah. That was
he
huge.
was about to do so many movies being, who is it? Kang or whoever the character
Yeah.
is. I mean, he just lost all that. And
He
now
did.
You know what?
he's,
What that's about? You gotta, and this goes to, I think, one of the primary morals of this entire thing is that you just really need to be very careful about who you
Date.
date,
mm,
who you let into your
mm-hmm,
life. Watch for the warning
yeah,
signs
And
because there's
jealousy.
really nobody
mm-hmm,
worth going through all that for. And that is a lesson that I learned the
mm,
hard way. Even if you have children with that person,
mm,
being in a violent, abusive, toxic relationship will end up costing you
Life.
so
mm-hmm,
much.
Your time
I
is so
lost
valuable.
almost
Even the time
everything
that you
behind this
dealing with in that
relationship.
relationship is valuable. So you losing your time is
mm-hmm,
Exactly.
you can't get that
And
back.
I think
right,
you cannot get that back. And I think that for whether you're a celebrity with a lot of money and endorsements to lose, or you're just a regular, average, everyday working person like
Mhm.
myself, you have to know the signs. And I
Mhm.
think that that is the biggest takeaway that we can use to help our young girls,
Yeah.
our young men, and to help shift the popular culture into seeing that violent, abusive, toxic
Right.
relationships, it's not cute,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
it's not funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody has the right to defend
Right.
Absolutely.
themselves. Nobody has the right to put their
Yeah.
hands on anybody
Mhm.
else. And if you enter a relationship with anybody, look for the signs early on
Mhm.
because they are
Mhm.
there. A person will let you know what they're about and what they're capable of 9 times out of 10 very early on if you really pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, you know what, and
we
and
have
that's
to.
the thing. Jealousy for a man is very dangerous when he's jealous of his woman. And
Mm.
jealousy in and of itself won't cause a man to hit you. But if a man has some violent tendencies and he gets jealous,
Mhm.
Mm.
and that's not just
That could be a
jealousy
trigger.
of the
Yeah.
threat of another man. It could be jealous about what he's lacking and what you might be
Mhm.
doing.
Oh my
You
God.
know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
What
Yep.
what money you might be
Money.
making, the lack of
Yep.
what he's ever doing, and that's a dangerous. I'm just as a man. I'm just telling you my perspective as a man. It's a dangerous combination because if a man is jealous and insecure about himself,
Mhm.
and that's not even counting the threat of another man.
Mhm.
Um, it could be a dangerous. It's a dangerous thing because you know what that
Mm-hmm.
comes down to. So you have the two different things. You have the man who might be intimidated about another man, but
Mhm.
that's one emotion. But the other emotion, as far as person being jealous of what he may be lacking in life,
Mhm.
that's more dangerous because
Because he can't
that's
fix it.
where you know what I'm saying. A
Yep.
man feel like I don't got no control,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and that's what men are trying to.
But he don't want to do the steps. Most of the time, women are always there to try and help build a man because they want both of them to be better so they can continuously grow. And a lot of times, men don't want to take the advice that the woman is given at certain times of their life because they might not be ready to transition to a different level. And that's where the animosity and the jealousy and all of that come in
Mhm.
because you just don't want to change. And that's the talk that maybe people should start having before they start dating is to see like, hey, are you comfortable where you at in life? Is this what you want to
Mhm.
do for the rest of your life? Are you looking to elevate? Are you looking to grow? Like if you have those talks
Yeah.
beforehand, maybe you'll find out this person is not a good fit for me because this
That's
is
true.
what he want to
Mhm.
do for the rest of his life. But
Mhm.
until you actually go and have those intelligent conversations, you really can't figure out what this person is on and what they're trying to do because you can be dating somebody that's just dumb as hell because y'all never had an intellectual conversation because that's just not what he was on, but you was just attracted to him. Now you
Very
attracted
true.
to this dumbass dude that don't want to
Mhm.
grow, don't want to elevate, can't keep a job, and now he mad at you because you out here doing what you supposed to do, earning your living, earning your keep, and it's just like it's
Right.
unequal. It's unequal. And when you have something that's unequal like that, it's never gonna work because he's always
Right.
gonna be mad and bitter. And then he gonna start, like you said, with the verbal abuse. Y'all gonna be arguing. You just never gonna
Mhm.
be happy in the relationship that you're in because relationship is about growth. If everybody's
Mhm.
not growing simultaneously, it's not gonna work. So
No,
That's
you're
true.
absolutely right. If a man, if a man don't have a job, I mean, I'm not talking about just temporarily, but
mm-hmm.
consistently. If a man don't have a job or source of income,
Mhm.
he's probably going to be dangerous at some point. Only
Absolutely.
because what happens, most abusers, in my opinion, what it really is that they don't feel good about themselves.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel good about yourself as a man, you're gonna always have a problem. It doesn't mean he's gonna put his hands on you, but it's an
Yeah.
ingredient that you'll probably find in most guys who put their hands on a woman. They don't feel good about themselves, and
Yeah.
right,
Absolutely.
there's gonna be. It's all I've never seen unless a man is a complete bum, like really comfortable bum type of thing. He's gonna feel some resentment if
Mm-hmm.
you're the only earner and he's just chilling. You know
Right.
what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And all that. And maybe he want to do some things, but he don't have the the motivation to do anything. And
Mhm.
everybody needs the biggest problem outside of the threat of another spouse replacing you. Everybody needs to have some level of a feeling of purpose. And if you got a
Mhm.
man that
Yeah,
don't have no purpose, a man without purpose is dangerous.
absolutely.
Is dangerous, even more
Yep.
than a woman without purpose. Because woman can, in my opinion, a woman can have no purpose, not know what she want to do, but if she's taken care of and she can eat, as long as there's shelter and she can live a life, a woman without purpose will just she ain't gonna be abusive. But a man
Right.
Mhm.
without purpose is dangerous.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I find with women who put their hands on men, even in the cases we saw, it's not because she don't have no job or she don't know what she want to do with her life. It's
Right.
because she mad about typically about some other woman or the threat of
Yeah.
another woman. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Or lack of
And
attention.
she has some anger
Yeah.
issues.
But
Has is
with men,
uncontrolled.
it's more dynamic, and I'm saying all this because these are, I would say, signs, right? So
Mhm.
if I'm talking to my daughter, those are one of the things I'm going to be teaching her as she get older is that you got to understand it's not just a man being jealous about
Mhm.
another man, but you
Yeah.
got to look at that man as to what is he doing with it, what does he want to do with his life, because if he don't feel good about himself, then you're at the
He's not going to feel good
you're
about
not you're
anything
not
you're doing
No.
either.
yeah,
And
and
then you
it's
gotta
tough
look
to have
at
a
the ones that's just like feel like they stuck in what they doing and like they can't leave the job they at because they know that if they try and go somewhere else, their skill sets might not be what another job is looking for. So they might not get the pay that they're getting with at the job that they hate right now. So now
hmm
they're stuck in a toxic work environment day in and day out, and then now they
Yep.
coming home and taking it out on you. It's like you have to
Mhm.
look at that too. It's like, can the person that you're with potentially grow? Is his
Mhm.
educational level where he at where he can leave that job and get another job? How can you help him, boost his spirits up? So it's just like it's a lot that go into relationships. And a lot of people they don't spend enough time investigating before
Mhm.
they call themselves being in a relationship. And
yeah.
then that's how they find out the hard way. And I've been
Another
there.
huge warning sign that I really want to mention is substance abuse.
Absolutely.
That is such a big
Mhm.
one. I think our young people and anybody really, you really need to pay attention to how they handle stress,
Mm-hmm.
if and anxiety and difficulty in their
Mhm.
life.
Way more
If their way of handling everything is by getting drunk
Popping mollies.
or popping a bunch of pills, that certain things seem like they become socially acceptable.
It's just
Like, oh, everybody's popping pills and everybody's getting
they're
high and
not
everybody's doing
handling
this and
it
doing
though.
that.
They're not handling their
But
problems.
Mhm.
exactly, if if they have to get wasted to deal with even the slightest bit of
Mhm.
stress, that is a huge red flag that
Absolutely.
they have a substance abuse
Mhm.
problem. And if they're abusing substances, it is a very, 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 very high probability that they are going
Crash
to
out.
become angry and
Mhm.
That's a
violent.
fact.
Of course, not all drunks are violent.
No,
Hey, there's a happy drunk and all
There's
this
a
and that,
lot of
and yeah,
violent drunks
maybe that's
though.
cute
it
Yeah.
is.
from time to time. But there's a lot of violent drunks, and there's a lot of violent people who are using hard
Mhm.
drugs.
Yeah.
And if this is what this guy or this woman spends most of their time doing, and if every time they're on something, they start acting
Mhm.
crazy, then that is a sign
Yeah.
that you need to get out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I will say this: you are not. It doesn't mean, and this is the manipulation part, because they will make you feel like you're turning your back
Yeah.
on them.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm sick. You see, I have a
Mhm.
problem. You should be helping me. You should be helping me. You should be helping me. But somebody with a substance abuse problem is beyond your level of
Mhm.
help. They need professional help.
Absolutely.
And I've seen so many relationships where women get guilted
Yeah.
and manipulated into staying in this relationship because they will make you feel
Mm-hmm.
responsible for
Mhm.
them. make you feel responsible for their well-being, make you feel responsible for their
Right.
sobriety. And at the end of the day, you are not
Absolutely not.
responsible
No.
for anybody's sobriety. And I know that it is scary. I know that it hurts. And I know it is a very traumatic thing when you're worried about, oh my God, what if they OD? What if something happens to them? And now you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
responsible for
Can't
their
be.
life. And that's a very, very heavy burden to carry. And I tell you from personal experience, don't do it.
Absolutely not.
Hey,
I've taken addiction
Walk
Mm-hmm.
studies classes.
away.
I understand
They need
exactly.
help. If they are not taking the initiative and they are not taking responsibility for their own sobriety, you can't do a damn
You
thing
sure
Mm-hmm.
for
can.
them.
yeah,
They cannot be sober for
You
Right.
you.
can't.
They have to
For
be
them.
sober for
yeah,
Right.
themselves. They cannot be sober for their kids or any external factor. They have to be
For
sober
themselves.
for themselves.
yeah,
And if they're not taking responsibility in
Right.
that, or the, you know, and a lot of people with substance abuse problems will make excuses. Well, if you just stop stressing me out, well, if we just do this, then I won't have to
Mm-hmm.
drink, or I won't have to pop pills, or if things are just stay stable, or if I just make more money, or whatever the situation is, don't fall
Yeah.
well,
for it.
it speaks to a
They need
woman's
to get help.
it speaks to a woman's level of nurturing, and just women have a little bit more pity in those
Mm-hmm.
situations because of that nurturing factor, and
Yeah.
that's something that a man will tend to kind of lean on. You know what I'm saying? And kind of,
Hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
versus I don't think men, we don't necessarily have that.
Men don't deal with women that really do drugs like women
Nah,
deal with men that do drugs, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be
Like,
like, yo, you chaotic, get out of
Yeah,
here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
Right.
nah, we
right.
can't. I can't deal with it. But and they don't
Yeah.
have that. They don't have that level of yeah. They don't have that level of dealing with it on that
most
level.
unless they're both
Mm-hmm.
on drugs together,
Yeah,
then most of
Right.
the woman will deal with it. The man won't deal with it. The
yeah.
man
They have
will
more
leave
pity.
you,
Mm-hmm.
and they will find somebody else because they already know that you are a problem. Women,
Yeah,
we emotionally, we do attach ourselves to people because we try to help them and we want them to get better. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like
Mm-hmm.
she said, you can't stop someone from doing anything. They have to want it for themselves. They have to do the work for themselves. If they're not going willing to do the work, then it's nothing that you can do. And a lot of
yeah,
people
Right.
don't understand that they have an addiction. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
people just think that what they're doing is regular. Oh, I drink, they drink, everybody do this, or I pop pills, everybody popping
Mm-hmm.
pills, or I lace my weed a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. It's everybody smoking it. You might not even tell the person what they smoking. So you
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
can't say that it's okay for what you're doing just because you feel like you do it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Just
Mm-hmm.
like with me, I had
Mm-hmm.
a pill addiction. I had surgeries, I so they had me on all kind of pills, soccer mom pills, the good shit. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't realize that I was addicted until I went to radiation. And then when I went to radiation, the first time I'm in that machine, and I just went crazy because I'm like, no, I can't get this machine. I don't have. I was out of my pills that day, so I had no
Hmm.
pills. And like the
Mm-hmm.
way I normally felt, I felt regular that day, and I was like, dang, this is what I got to do when I go through these machines. Like I always had some type of drugs in my system to help
Hmm.
me cope with being able to take whatever treatments that I needed to take. And
Hmm.
that day, I realized that I embarrassed myself. I didn't want to look like that in front of nobody else again, and I didn't get another pill refilled or anything. I just cut myself off cold turkey. If you ask my radiation team at Northwestern, they'll tell you they were so proud of me. By the time I was in radiation for 6 weeks,
Hmm.
so from the first day to that 6 weeks, I completely cleaned myself off of all of those pills, the depression drugs that I was on. I took myself off of all of that stuff because I realized that I was weird with my being on them, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
was really weird and I was
Mm-hmm.
really embarrassing myself. And when I looked at myself that day, I didn't want to look like that again.
Hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
drugs, a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
don't
have deep
understand
apologies for them.
until they
Yeah.
actually
Kudos.
are in, when they're in need of it again. And
Yeah.
then you be
Right.
like, oh my God, I really am addicted. So,
No,
Right.
that's a great point.
I applaud your
Yeah.
Yeah, for
strength
real,
for
for
thank you.
real,
doing that.
for
I
real.
really
Big,
do.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
big, big
serious though.
ups.
Applaud that.
I've had 4 brain surgeries, so I was on a lot of medication for years
Mm-hmm.
because of my injuries that I hip with the surgeries or whatever.
Hmm.
So I just didn't realize how addicted I was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did not.
A lot of people don't take that initiative, and they
No.
you know, they will just take it out on whoever they with,
Yeah.
and be in that state, and that's a tough situation to be in for the other partner, man or woman, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely something else, you know.
Yeah.
um well, I think that you know, this has been a great convo as always. I'm not gonna keep y'all all night, you know what I'm saying, but Viv, you know how we do.
Right. We'll be talking 4 hours later.
And
Right.
every week when we do this on Friday, it's always great. But I think, you know, again, it's just about, you know, having these combos, and hopefully
Mhm.
people can take this conversation and think about it, and hopefully
hmm
we can help people,
Mhm.
prevent people from going down a certain road. Because I think that
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
domestic violence, people, you know, everybody acts like, you ask the average person, they're like, "Oh, I would never let that happen to me," or "That never," you know. And but there's so much violence that happens that people ain't even talking about. There's a
It
lot
is.
of
I just
violence in
found
this.
out some stuff
Yeah.
over the Christmas weekend about someone, and I'm not going to repeat what I was told, but it's a situation that somebody held on to for a long time. And people are embarrassed. People are to the point where they just don't want to tell anybody because they don't want to be judged. But you can't get help if you don't seek help. That's what the younger generation have to understand. And if you really are being abused, you have to stop it, because it's not worth you losing your life. It's too many people that have lost their lives to domestic violence. So
Yes.
Mhm.
you want to make
Absolutely.
sure that you can get yourself out of a situation, because if a person is hitting on you or repeatedly hitting on you, that person don't love you. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't care what they keep telling you, what they ban you. That's not love. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
not love, and you need to get out that
Exactly.
situation. But let me get off my
That's a
soapbox.
Absolutely.
And
you know,
one more thing.
Absolutely. If they're degrading you and talking to you crazy,
Mhm.
that's not love.
Nope.
And
listen,
also, I want to add to that too,
please.
um, is to watch out for people's families, like their family history, because when you're dating and you don't know anything about their family, I'm just saying, it just came to my
That's
mind
so
because
true.
I've seen this with a friend where she had support system, me, her family,
Mm-hmm.
friends, and he didn't like that because he didn't have
Mm-hmm.
that in his family. And so what he would do is try to take her away from events and gatherings that we had. Like, she would be there, and then something suddenly came up on his end, or something was
Mm-hmm.
going on, and then she left for him. So, never let your support system go, to
Right.
anybody out there, for a man or a woman. Like, don't do
Mm-hmm.
that. So just that whole part about a person's family, like, that's really important. If you can find
So
out
true.
whatever you could find out about their family's history or past. And I also want to say, kudos to you two women, like, for sharing your stories. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I applaud both of you for being so open,
Thank you.
and just
Thank
sharing
you.
that. Like, I appreciate you both for
Appreciate
that.
it. No,
Yes, I
thank you.
do. I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. I really appreciate y'all, you know, being candid and
Mhm.
open about it, and
Yes.
you know, because you know, so much of this is it goes on, and most of
Mhm.
it people don't want to really talk about. You know what I'm saying?
No,
But you
it's
know,
a hard topic.
Yeah.
it's a sensitive
Very
topic for
yeah.
sure. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I appreciate y'all sharing that. You know what I'm saying?